am with another episode with Vegan Holistic. Today we are here with a very, very special guest, and her name is Donna Stellhorn. She is an amazing astrologer that I came across on YouTube. You know, the power of how amazing YouTube is, of course. She gives amazing predictions. She uses Chinese astrology and Western astrology as well. And she just gives insight for her viewers and all the great things. Not only that, but she's written at least 18 books on just teaching others on how to use these same tools. And she also has a program that she's teaching around tarot, which we'll be getting into later. But hi, Donna. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, May. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. I know you've done so much more than this. And of course, let's not forget the part that you're also a part-time comedian, which I think is fascinating.
Yeah. I haven't been funny for a while now, but yeah, I'll try to be today.
You know, it's fine. It's fine. This is a safe container. So just be as you are.
Sounds good.
So first things first, how did you get started into astrology and Chinese astrology? I mean, yeah, do enlighten us.
So, wow, that is a really long time ago. So just after the dinosaurs died off. So I was actually working in computer programming, and this was so far back. This is when computers took up entire rooms. And my boss at the time, she did my numerology, and she said, "Wow, you have a real talent with astrology." I was so excited at the possibility of having a talent in something. So I immediately went out and took a class. And on the very first day of the class, I couldn't figure out anything they said, but I said, I'm going to do this for a living. And so I just intensely studied for years and it came about. I mean, that's, most astrologers do that. We get hooked and we study a lot, and that's how it happens. So, and then I was doing some Feng Shui also, and I was writing a column about it. And this, of course, again, ancient history. There were only 3 books out in English on Feng Shui, and my Chinese is non-existent. So, but since I knew some astrology and I was delving into Chinese astrology, that sort of grew out on its own. Mm-hmm. So, and then a publisher came to me. They were in Germany or Switzerland, someplace like that. And they said, we'll publish a book of yours on Feng Shui. And they said, do you have one? And I said, when do you need it? And they said, 2 weeks. I said, okay, I'll have it then. And so I went home and I wrote for like 24 hours a day for 2 weeks, and I finished it. So, and then they translated it into German. And so fortunately, I've never had to read it.
That is so amazing. And I mean, so when you wrote the book, would you say like it just came through you, everything that needed to be in the book, and like how?
Yeah, and I'd been teaching classes. I'd been writing a column. At that point, I'd been writing a column for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And so I took all of that information. I had seen a lot of clients, but it was very specific for the area I was in. I was living in New Mexico. And so it was awful lot about, like where to place cactus and where to hang your cow skull. And then, people in Switzerland and Germany were like, what?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think that's amazing. And especially when like, this is ancient knowledge, like you said, so in a lot of other cultures, this is very familiar. But then, now I feel like some of these Eastern cultures and a lot of things are obviously coming into the Western society. So I feel like you're definitely kind of like ahead of your time. Not saying, I'm not trying to call you out on any age or whatever, but by the way you've been saying it, this age in the time we're in this time and space, more than ever, everyone wants to be enlightened. Everyone wants more information. And so I think it's amazing that you are able to offer that.
I think it's so amazing too how science now is backing up a lot of Feng Shui principles. There's whole departments of consumer marketing and consumer behavior that is all based on, well, let's place this here and let's do this color there. That's all feng shui.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Really? Can you give us an example of maybe if the audience wants to check something out of what you're talking about, what they can look up for the science part of it?
Oh, well, sure. Anything on how they lay out a store, for instance, because in feng shui, we want to have things in this very peaceful, no sort of friction between us and what we're going to do. And so you go into a store and, the organic stuff used to be way up on a high shelf or way down below. You had to search for it. So you would just buy the name brand that was right in front of you. And this is why they put, breakfast cereals low at that kid's eye level, right? So, or have so much candy by the register. There's no friction. So, but we can turn that into something positive. And that would be, let's say you want to eat healthier. Well, instead of in your fridge putting your fruits and vegetables in those little drawers where they're hidden, put those on the top shelf and put all the soda and candy in the drawers, and you'll eat more fruits and vegetables.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Something so basic and simple, but yet so effective.
Yeah.
I love it. So, okay, Western astrology versus Chinese. Which one did you get into first? And do you integrate them both now? Like, is it a big difference for a personality? Can you kind of elaborate?
Well, I did Western first, and I'm much better at Western. And most people don't know that Chinese astrology is just as complex as Western astrology. So there is so much study to do. The two systems did emerge independently. And so they only really mesh in a couple of areas. So for example, Western astrology, there's 4 elements. But in Chinese astrology, there's 5 elements, and those elements are very active in, how the energies move. Where in Western astrology, it's a little bit more of, like, oh, you're fire, yay,
Yes.
So,
yes.
but the one thing that I do find that's very interesting in Chinese astrology, you get a theme for the year, you get a theme for the month, you get a theme for the day, which in Western astrology you don't really get. And so that allows us to say that currently in 2022, we're in a tiger year, water tiger, and we're going to go into water rabbit. And so that we can then talk about all of that energy and what that does, like the tiger's unpredictability, the tiger's volatility, that tiger who says, this is my territory. I don't want to play with anybody else. And then we're going to go into very different energy with the rabbit.
Wow. And I think it's so fascinating because these are just things that again, we're talking about energy. So every science in all of it is just about that, the elements and the earth and all of it. And it's just so connected. So I think it's amazing how you're able to explain it in different contexts based on the knowledge that you're bringing for people.
Yeah, I like to give people a picture of what it is. So when you think of the rabbit, so especially compared to a tiger, like a tiger, you're pretty confident as you're moving into the world. So, let's start a couple of years ago. We went into the rat year in 2020. So rat's a little tiny animal, moves very quickly, but is very into self-preservation. And so what did we do? We stayed in our homes, because pandemic's raging. We saw something we needed, groceries. We ran out, we grabbed the groceries, we ran back in. That's it. That was the whole year. And then we go into the ox year. So, and then ox is very much like, okay, this is part of our life. Let's just get the field plowed. All right. Let's just, and so everybody was like, okay, now I know how to wear a mask. Now I know how to social distance. And we just kept going. Then tiger hit. Tiger's about independence and freedom. And everybody took off their masks simultaneously. Every single person was just like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
So,
right. That makes sense. Tiger. Yes. They're all about freedom and just like roar, just the energy of a tiger. Mm-hmm.
but it's still a cat. And so what does a cat do? It's like, running around the house, tearing up things and then napping. And so this has been the tiger energy too, that so much is happening and then it all settles down for a moment and then it's happening again. So we've had these big ups and downs. So that's brought stock market volatility, crazy stuff in the news, especially because tigers are so territorial. It is all about, all right, maybe supply chains are broken. Maybe we can't talk to different countries and get the stuff that we need. And so we have experienced that or are experiencing that. Then we go to rabbit. So now what is a rabbit? Cute little quiet animal who is very home-oriented, family-oriented. So maybe that it does increase that sort of, it's just us against them. But the rabbit's not going to be very combative, not like a tiger. So
Mm-hmm.
this is a time where we're all going to say who are our friends, who are our family, who are the people that we want to take care of. Where's our home? Where's our food? Food will be a big important thing next year. So, and how can we be peaceful and just live out our lives?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Wow. Wow. So that would be a general theme to definitely look forward to next year then, is just making sure that people are kind of coming together as a collective, the family, like you said, just essentially kind of like finding your tribe and making sure that everyone is protected and, grounded and safe.
yes. Rabbit doesn't necessarily like strangers so much. Prefers people they know and they love. But rabbit's also pretty eccentric. Rabbit likes to do what they want to do. Then there's an old saying, you cannot push a rabbit. So they'll do things on their own time, in their own way. And so that would be, you're with the people who accept you. You're with the people who love you no matter what you do.
Right. And so then also, just curious, Donna, what's your Chinese astrology sign?
Oh, I'm a rat.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. What's yours?
I'm a snake.
Oh, okay.
Do
Okay. So
we not
you're
get along because in the real life?
So you mean because snakes can eat rats?
Technically, technically.
So we will be cautious around each other, but both of those signs are pretty business oriented. And so there's some coming together in that area. So your big year will be in 2025, I guess. Yeah. So we're going to do dragon in between. So we'll do rabbit, then dragon, big year of innovation and growth. And then the snake year will come in. And this is going to be really interesting because all of the stuff that happens in the dragon year won't really take hold during the dragon year. Snake will be the one that says, okay, now we have this new innovation. How are we going to use it? What are we going to do that's different? So we see a lot of change coming up in that snake year. So, but it's the seeds were planted in the dragon year.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So generally speaking then, for the rest of this month, can you kind of enlighten us with December and what that's looking like?
Well, we have a really kind of intense month coming up because I think the tiger is awake again. Kind of prowling around.
Yeah.
So when we look at the full moon, and sorry, I have to check. The full moon's on December 7th, and that's going to be a full moon conjunct Mars. Now, in Western astrology, what that means is that you're busy, you have a short temper, you're easily irritated, you want to get something done, and somebody's in your way. And so there's going to be a general energy of impatience, like people honking, like people pushing. And so if something's going on and it seems kind of rowdy, just turn and walk away if possible. So,
Definitely.
yeah. And then later when we do the new moon, and that's going to be December 23rd, that's going to be a new moon square Jupiter. Now, Jupiter's about expansion and knowledge and, just wanting more. And so that could mean a really big shopping holiday around the end of December. I would say probably a few days before that, and then all the way towards the end of the year. I think retailers are going to be really happy.
I mean, and also it is Christmas, but definitely
Mhm.
just it's funny
Yes.
how it all aligns.
Yeah. But there's going to be this desire for, getting more of something.
Mm,
So, which might mean that, there's all this talk about shortages and things like that. And since we're going into a rabbit year and things like, protect home and family so important, it's really a good idea to, be stocked up on the things that you need or going to need.
mhm.
So, because then the home, the homestead feels all safe and cozy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you recommend for people to do to get through the rest of this year and then going into next year?
Well, actually, in most years, what's necessary is to be open to change because this, especially this year, it's tiger to rabbit. That's quite a difference. And so the energy makes such a big dramatic shift that as we say, okay, we can roll with it, then we do okay. And then the second, of course, is always to build your skills. So the more skills you have, the safer you are in any sort of year. So that is your tech skills, your skills with communication, your skills to work with people, the skills for you to work by yourself if necessary to be productive. So, and then of course, for rabbits specifically, it would be who are the friends and family that you want to, really connect with and stay with. Maybe you have friends you haven't reached out to in a long time. You haven't seen them in a while. Like start to pull them together so that when the rabbit year comes along, you're all ready.
Right, right, right. And for those that are, I guess, like invested, whether if it's in, well, I know they're all different things, like the real estate market, the stock market, crypto market. I mean, obviously, it's hard to really tell what's going on. But based around the charts, I mean, I'm sure you kind of looked into it. What are we kind of expecting, or people should probably prepare for?
Well, it's actually going to be quite interesting because even though we may be in a recession, generally in a rabbit year, the stock market is up. In fact, in the last 100 years, there was only one down year for a rabbit year, and it was only down 2%. So very minor. So I actually did put a video about financial predictions on my website. I didn't put it on YouTube yet because I'm not a financial planner, and so it's purely astrology. But if people want to go to my website at donnastellhorn.com, it's just in the new videos. You don't have to sign up for anything. It's just there. And so I talk about oil prices, gold, Bitcoin, etc. So, but just to give people here, kind of a preview of that, I think the stock market is going to be up a little bit. Stock market can be up during a recession year anyway. So I do think that people will be cautious about their spending. And so we see also Saturn going into Pisces. This will have an effect of repressing oil prices. So I think over the course of the year, oil prices may decrease, but that's a longer transit. So we may see much more of a decrease in 2024. So, and Bitcoin, wow, it's a longer topic.
That's just a whole other thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If you take the really long view of Bitcoin and you really are Bitcoin maximalist and not doing all the altcoins, I think that the whole Bitcoin really took off during the Saturn Uranus square, which we had in 2020. So I think that in that time, it went from something like $8,000 to 65,000. And
Yeah.
now, of course, was it sitting at maybe 15? I didn't even look today. But we're going to repeat that energy in 2043. So if you're really thinking long term, Bitcoin could be something. So, but I do think it's going to be highly volatile, especially in your year, the snake year.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's so interesting just to like be able to see, and how you even mentioned the year 2043. I'm sure a lot of people aren't even thinking that far ahead.
And that's the gift of astrology. We get to see very far ahead. And I shouldn't say we'll see real volatility in 2025 when we've had so much volatility this year. So, but I do think that a lot of things will settle down in the rabbit year. Tiger is much more, in your face and, charging at something. Rabbit's too cautious. And so we may get into a trading range in a lot of areas where it goes up a little, it goes down a little, and back and forth, back and forth.
I am sure a lot of audience that would fall into this video would be also curious. I know we talked about the stock markets and crypto and whatnot. What about real estate? It's such a, everyone's been talking about this crash and all the things and stuff, but I mean, do you actually feel, or based on the charts, think that that's something that would be of concern?
Well, it's, in a rabbit year, everybody wants a home. They want a place to be. So that means homes become in demand. The problem's been that so many institutions have bought up so much property. And so people are kind of being forced to be renters. I would think that if some of those companies start to show some problems, like, and I think it was, I'm going to say it was Blackstone, I think, that has some real estate holdings. And when I say some, like 60,000 properties or something. And they have, I just read today that they are now not letting investors take their money out, because the market's so volatile right now. So
Wow.
if things like that happen, if real estate can get more into people's hands, I think people are really going to gravitate to it, no matter what the interest rate. When I was younger and got my first place, I think I was paying 15%, and I got a deal on my mortgage. Yeah. So so I
Wow.
think people will get used to the higher interest rates, and in a rabbit year, they'll say, I don't care, I just want a home.
Wow.
But because it's rabbit year and people are so concerned with homes, I am worried about renters being thrown out of, a situation because there's just no available properties and there's nothing that's affordable. And so we're going to see, because it's rabbit, everybody doubling up, parents taking in children, people taking in roommates and things like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So going back to you though, Donna, obviously I know that the astrology and all the things now are such a big part of your life and what you are, and as a really published author and all the things. Do you personally check and I know you write for astrology, like the dailies and all the good things. Do you personally use it every day for yourself in your life? And how has it changed your life?
Yeah, I do use it every day. I don't use it to I don't so much have it as a limitation in my life. Although I have dear friends who do say, hey, this is a better day to do something, and they will go and do it on that day. And I will if it's very important. But more what I do is I'll go out, do something, it doesn't work out, go back, check the chart and go, oh yeah, I should have known. But I do use it a lot, especially for learning about myself and how I'm reacting to the energies, using it to, be, I don't know, just better at handling change, handling, different types of people that come into my life, saying, why is this upsetting me? And so looking at my chart and saying, oh, yes, this is related to something that happened, and I can find the year and then pull that information out and work through it. So I also use the tarot a great deal. And that is to, if I'm going to choose something, like, should I go out to eat at this restaurant or that restaurant? I will pull cards to see which one would be better. And
Mm-hmm.
that is extremely useful for the moment. You know, like you don't have to run a whole chart. You don't have to do all the calculations. You can just pull a card and say, oh, if I get the tower, not going to that restaurant.
Right, right. Now, I know that you do have the course. Would you like to tell people more about your tarot course that they're able to take from you?
Oh, well, thank you. Yes. So this is the fourth course I have up. I have 2 free courses on Chinese astrology. They are a little dated, but there's a lot of evergreen information in them. Those are on udemy.com. And there's one astrology course on there also. And that one I'm updating. That's Find the Hidden Money in Your Chart. But I wanted to put out a tarot course because I love the tarot so much. So the tarot, it's an image of something going on. And I talk about it as a still frame in a movie. And so because we've seen so many movies, if we see a single frame in a movie, we can extrapolate how people got to that point and where they may be going. And so this is what we do in the tarot. Instead of, reading or memorizing the book, when you see the picture in the card, then you can say, oh, I can figure out how this relates to my question. So, for example, there's a card, the 6 of Cups, which is a very sweet card. It shows a little boy giving flowers to a little girl. But in the card, she's surrounded by little pots of flowers. Like she has lots of flowers. And so it's very sweet, it's nostalgic, but it's also this, that somebody's offering you something and maybe you don't need it because you have plenty of it. And so you can kind of say to yourself, all right, is this something where somebody's offering me something that I want to take it because I don't need to take it? And so I can choose.
Right, right, right. So when you do your tarot, just curious, when you get your answers, do you use the cards that fall out or do you have a certain shuffle and then you just take the first?
Yeah, if a card pops out of the deck, that's something that the universe wanted you to know about, especially like if you have to hunt for it, it fell on the floor and you really need to pay attention to it. So, and I know that there's all the types of spreads and all that. In the course, I talk about these, but in general, I just pull single cards and I'm very clear about my question. I think that is very important because if somebody says, does he love me? Is he cheating? If you get a yes, you get a confused person, So be very clear about your question, be very specific. So, and realize that the card is just giving you information that you can still change things. This isn't set in stone. That's why the cards are made of paper.
Sure, sure. And so example, I know you gave a real good example of like how to not ask a tarot questions. What would be an example of a good specific question?
Yeah, I like open-ended questions so you can get a lot of information. So you might have a job offer, and so you might ask the cards, what do I need to know about this job offer? So, or you might say, how can I feel about this conversation that we had? And so that might give you information like, oh, maybe you were frightened during the conversation, but you didn't realize it. Maybe you were excited about the conversation, but they didn't really understand. So those more open-ended questions help a lot.
Right, right. Okay, so when you actually start asking the tarot deck questions, do you personally have like a greeting that you like to start with or open up the channel, or do you just kind of like go for it and use it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. So what you're talking about is like a ritual to put yourself into a space. And so I think that rituals are very powerful and very important, so that you get yourself into kind of a mindset of being open and aware. So I light a candle. So
Oh,
that's how I do mine. I just say, here I am. I'm ready. light the candle. So got a candle lit for us. So yeah. And so that to me starts it out. But yes, some people use crystals. Some people will do a meditation. When I'm looking at a person's chart, I will do a meditation. So, and see, I'll have the chart in front of me, and I'm looking at the patterns and seeing what emerges.
Mm.
And so, and then it's the chart kind of comes to life that way.
I like that. So then, funny random question then, when you meet new people, do you just ask them immediately when their birthday is?
No, not in the least. So, because, it is so much information that we can get from the chart. And so I do see people give out their birth information to apps and things like that. And I do kind of say, wow, you don't know how much information you just gave. So, but it is really interesting when, when I meet someone, I do see things, and I'm sure you do too, like you'll see something in their jewelry and you'll think, oh, they're really into crystals or stones. This means such and such. Or, they may be dressed in one of the Chinese elements. They might be dressed very much in metal, for example, which is fine fabrics, somewhat shiny and all that. And then, there must be some metal in their chart. So they want to be organized. They want to make sure all their resources are okay. So as we meet people, we get to see so much about them,
Wow.
just from what they say. I notice that people, they will say things to me. They'll say stuff like, oh, I don't want a recording for this reading. And I'll go, oh, you have some Scorpio. So it's so
Right.
so
I get it.
That's how they, and that's how we all used to communicate back when everybody did this. And it would be great if we could all do these different modalities and techniques and all that again. That would be fantastic.
So let me ask you this, because this is kind of like a burning question actually in me. And also I'm sure people that are going to find this out or hear about it would want to know or be curious about. Can someone manipulate your life by getting your birth chart information?
Probably not more than the algorithm's already doing. So, but it occurred to me that all these people giving their apps, it's quite easy for the software to pick out everybody who's doing their Saturn return and then reach out to them and say, are you not sure what you should be doing for a living? Is your relationship in trouble? Here's something we can sell you. And so that sort of timing, or that aspect that I was talking about for the new moon, which is a kind of an all-in, I don't care what the price is, I just want it sort of aspect. Well, why not just target people who are doing that aspect and say, oh, here's the more expensive item.
Wow. So kind of like literally now using the energies and what's happening in the planets as a marketing tool, essentially.
Yeah. When, I mean, it's taking a very cynical view.
No, but it's true. I mean, it's not, especially, which is kind of messed up, and like, especially if you think about it, like the websites that so-called people come to for help they end up, but I guess, everyone needs to make their way of living and all the great things. So bless their hearts. But
and I think it's just to be self-aware. The key for all of this is to be self-aware, to have your own thoughts. And it's getting harder and harder in our current world because the biases that we had are just getting emphasized so much by the algorithms, so. But if you know yourself, and you can do that so easily through your chart, then you say, oh, you know what? That's not for me. I know I don't want to go that direction. you
Mhm.
know? So, for example, for you, you have a Sagittarius moon, right? And you have Mars in Leo, and they're both at 0 degrees. 0 degrees is a very special degree in an astrology chart. It means that you have unflinching optimism and you have a myriad of choices. But because you have so many choices, you tend to do the same thing over and over. It's like you're in the donut shop with a million different donuts, and there's a line behind you, and you have to choose right now. And so, oh, I'll just get what I had before. And
Mm.
that's something you have to watch out for when you have 0 degree planets, that you don't do the same thing over and over.
Mm.
So, do
Wow.
you notice this?
You're right. See, guys, she's the real deal. No, I definitely noticed that about myself. And I think that that's something that I've have challenges with, especially during a very transitional time in my life the past couple years. It's like okay, I know I need to do something different, but what is it? Because I can be great at so many different things.
So many choices. That's that unlimited donut shop. And yeah, I shouldn't pick donuts because no. But but the plus about having this combination is that if somebody offers you something, and says, "Hey, do you want to fly to Spain for lunch?" You're like, "Yeah." Like, so you're so up for new experiences, but in a sense, you're waiting for someone else to tell you what that is, to pick for you. And so it would
Mhm.
be a good idea for you ahead of time to say, "This is what I want to try." And then the universe will send it to you in the moment. You can then say yes.
Yes,
So
yes.
anyone who has 0 degree planets, and it's quite easy to find out if you have 0 degree planets, you can go on, there's a number of online websites that will pull up your chart for you. And
Mhm.
then you can just run through the planets and see if anything's at 0 degrees. So, or anybody can email me and I'll send them a copy of their chart.
Yes, yes. That's fantastic. So, with you understanding people's personalities so much through just seeing their charts and just kind of, I mean, now you're able to navigate in that way. Is it easier for you to do business with others and the way that you're actually navigating life in general? Has it helped you tremendously?
It has helped so much. When I started out, I wanted to open a bookstore, but I didn't know anything about it. So I went to work in a little independent bookstore, and this man could not keep employees because of his terrible temper. But when I ran his chart, he had an Aries moon. Aries is like a match, like, so it burns really hot and it lights up everything, but it only has a little bit of fuel. And so he would scream for a moment, and then it would be quiet, and then he'd go, "Okay, do you wanna go to lunch?" And everybody would take it so personally and all that, and I was just like, "It's an Aries moon. I'm not gonna take it personally." And so I got to stay and learn how to do a bookstore. It was great.
Wow. How fascinating is that? Is because that would it just would avoid so much issues for people because I understand everything you're saying in regards to just some personalities they just have myself there's a lot of things in me that you're like, hey, like I wish this was better about me, but sometimes it's not about that. It really is in your chart that
Yeah.
it's just like that.
Yeah. So the 4 love languages could be expanded to 12 love languages if we looked at the moon. So, the moon in Sagittarius that you have, the moon in Sagittarius says, "I want adventure, I want excitement." So, and you also want to be the person who knows something. You want to be known for knowing something. And so, someone could come to you and say, "Oh, I love you. Here are flowers, here are chocolates." And you're like, "That's not what I want." Oh. So when you know someone's moon, then you can give them what they're looking for, and you can more explain what you're looking for, and that can help the relationship.
Mm, I love that. I really do. Wow.
Yeah.
And because I know a lot of people they talk about the moon being like in the emotions of the person and things like that, but just how you're
Mhm.
saying with even what they want or like, that's really good to use that as a a gauge.
Yes, the sun sign that you have is something that you're learning in this lifetime. So, what's your sun? You're a Gemini. So you already know how to communicate, but you're learning how to do multiple businesses, how to juggle different things, how to communicate with different types of people. So you're learning these things. But your
Wow.
moon is what you need. And so that's usually something that was denied you when you were younger. And so you really push for it. And it doesn't mean that your parents were holding it back. It could have been a teacher, it could have been circumstances.
No, just kidding. I love you, mom and dad.
Yeah, but with a Sagittarius moon, it would have been parents who, were very much worried about you, hurting your knees if you fell, or, like, oh, don't play basketball, or like anytime you did anything, they went, are you okay? And that
Wow.
holds you back, and you didn't want to be held back. And
Wow.
then you have, sorry.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. This is
So then
fascinating.
there's your rising sign. And your rising sign, you do know. Your rising sign was the sign that was rising at the time you were born. So it is based on your birth time. And from that, we get who you appear to us to be. So for you, you're Virgo rising. So Virgo is, we see you as organized, together, always incrementally making things better, but that you can be critical either of yourself or situations. So we see that first. Then we get to know you and we see the Gemini. Oh, yeah, she's fun. She's easygoing. And then finally we get that Sag and we go, May, where is she? Oh, she's in Spain. She's having lunch.
I love it. So essentially, the moon sign is like the deep, like when you get to really know the person, that will show up more in the relationship.
Yes. Yes. And
Wow.
your planetary positions are pretty compatible. So that's nice. But sometimes you can find someone who seems so easygoing, but they're actually very security oriented. They're actually, guarding themselves. And then you start to think, they weren't like that before. They've changed. And it's not that they changed, it's now you get to see them more clearly because you're closer.
Right. Right. Now, I do have a question in regards to just going back to how you're able to embody everything that you do. With you being able to write so many books and also mentoring and teaching and creating videos and stuff,
Mhm.
what would you recommend for someone that is, an entrepreneur and all the things, and how you're able to achieve all the things that you're able to do and stay so organized?
Well, from an astrological standpoint, we actually use the sixth house. So the sixth house tells us how we organize things, how productive we're going to be. There are some other aspects too. Mars is involved because Mars is action. And so that is that get up and go, deciding to do something, etc. So, but we can look at the chart and say, oh, this is where you're very strong in this area, or this is where you're not. So I'm strong in this area of productivity. I'm terrible at this thing called take a break. So, and that's a different house in the chart.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Wow. It just goes so deep. And I really, really love that you've just enlightened a lot of things. And I'm sure the people that are tuning into this, they're just really informed with all the information, because the way that you're explaining even just like the rising and like the sun sign and all that, it even already goes deeper than what the so-called, I would say, commercial astrology and what people are saying. Because the fact that you even could see how the parents are with just the moon sign is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and it gives us a chance to accept ourselves and then improve from there. I mean, oftentimes we spend a lot of time wondering if we're okay. Like, should people say I shouldn't be this way, or why did I do this thing? And then, but the chart says, oh, you know what? This was a possibility that you were going to do this, but you have other possibilities. And so
Mhm.
this, I think, gives us real hope and helps us learn about ourselves so that we can be the best of ourselves that we can be.
Mhm. So for clients and people that are not, let's say, sure about their purpose, their path, or just need more clarity, what kind of sessions should they book with you if that's the case?
Well, when somebody's looking for their path, especially if they say those words, what we're looking at is the north node. So there's a north node and a south node, and it's one continuous sort of energy string. They're not planets, so they're just points out in space. The south node is what you've done in the past, and some say goes even to past lives. And then the north node is what you should do. I don't know if I want to use the word should, but if you do it, you'll be happy, you'll feel fulfilled. And that can go in this life all the way into future lives. So with the north node, we would look at that, see where it's placed in your chart, and then say, well, have you considered these things? Now, sometimes the north node is hard to do. It may not pay money, in our current society. It may be something that your parents say, well, that's not being an accountant, So you can get a lot of resistance to it. But there are also ways to do your north node and feel fulfilled without doing it for a living. And so
Right.
we talk about it from that standpoint, is that, it's different if a person says, what should my career be?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So I'm just curious then, my north node, am I in alignment with?
Well, let's check. So you have north node in Aquarius in your 6th house. So the north node in Aquarius says that you are here to lift up a group. So you find groups of people and you lift them up. So Aquarius also says to create change. You want to do something new. You want to do something different. And this is in the area of 6th house, that is work, but also health and daily routine. And so here you are teaching people about how to live healthy lifestyles, how to incorporate, healthful things every day in what they do. That would be the daily routines. And maybe how to help people, groups of people do this for a living. So you are in alignment.
Wow. Yay. Thank you. Thank you, Spirit. No. And I think that it's really awesome and amazing and important because one of my passions in general is to liberate people. I find it I just love seeing my friends and family happy. And when they're not, let's say, in alignment or something, if I can somehow bring them out of that and inspire them, that really does bring me joy. So,
I
and
love that you use the word liberate, because that is a perfect Aquarian word. And with North Node in Aquarius, that's in alignment. And again, that's when you hear a person talk, they will talk their chart. And so if you had, on the other hand, said, I want to be the leader, I want to be in charge, that would have been South Node in Leo. And then we would know that you're just doing past stuff. You're doing the safer thing. And so that would not be so beneficial.
Wow. Okay. That's so awesome and great. So, okay. We want to make sure that people are able to check you out, get online, learn from you, book sessions, and all the great things. So, can you tell us, what type of services that you're offering right now that you're doing? And then, obviously we're going to leave links and all the things too, so that way people and anything that we mentioned early on, because I know that with you mentioning like about the predictions for next year around finances, I want to make sure that we incorporate all that so all the viewers are able to get that too. So
yeah, that sounds good. So of course there's the YouTube channel, and I put out at least 2 videos a month, one for the new moon and another for the full moon. Lately I've been putting out much more because we're doing the transition into the new year. So my website is donnastellhorn.com, and I have basic, consultations on there, an hour, half an hour, or tarot. So different prices and all of that. So, and you can just go in and see my schedule and book, and it's super easy, or you can send me an email if you have questions. And so, yeah, I have a couple of books that will be coming out. they're, I've had a book with my publisher for ages, that hopefully I will get around to it. I've just been super busy. But it is called Lucky House Number, and it's how the number on your house or your apartment influences your experience in the house. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I love it.
And so there's that. And then, of course, the courses are available.
Oh gosh. I mean, I do want to ask you a couple questions with this, but I'm not gonna, because it's just gonna drag it on. So you guys will have to, stay tuned for that, and obviously it'll make people connect with you on that. But one question though, just so it gives me a little bit of clue, the house number situation.
Yeah.
Are you going based on each number, or is it like a numerology thing where you add all?
It's both. So if you're in a house number, if you're in a single digit, of course, you know that energy. But if you're in a long string of numbers, you want to take each number individually, but you want to add them together and reduce them to a single digit. And that's going to give you the energy also.
Wow.
So something like 121 says, like you're very independent, you get into a relationship, and then the two of you become of one mind, but it adds up to a 4, and you have to deal with all that 4 energy, which is hard work and loss. And so you have to, well, the book is all about the different feng shui things that you can do to mitigate that energy, especially that energy of the number 4.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll probably have to bring you back and stuff too to talk more about feng shui and stuff, because I know we focus more on astrology, but next time would be great to have that. But one last thing then, just while we're on the question of feng shui, next year, to help others ground into where they are in their life, what are some no-nos you would say for the feng shui?
So, well, no-nos, yeah, there are some, but let's focus on the yes.
Yes,
And
yes.
that is that all energy is going to come through your front door, even if you don't use your front door, even if you use a side door or the garage door. You want the energy around your front door to flow in. That means no clutter, nice welcome mats. So, and then on a table near your front door, place a few representations of what you want to attract. You want love, put a figurine of a couple, or, put something that like a heart-shaped dish. If you want money, place something that's kind of that brass, gold color, or place a bowl with some coins in it, or, place a picture of your future beach house. So that way, when you walk in, or even if you're not walking in that door, the energy alone sees what you're looking for and brings you those opportunities.
A nice last tip for everybody. That's so amazing. And yes, we're going to get all those links up and have people reach out and just be in your presence. They need to subscribe to your YouTube channel and all the great things. It's
thank you.
Very informative, very, very informative. So for you though, do you have something in the next year that you're looking forward to? Any goals?
Yes, I have. Oh my goodness, always. So I am going to be doing some lectures on the rabbit year. So those are coming in January, and I think there's one in February. Also, I have an expanded version of my Finding the Hidden Money in Your Chart course that's going to be coming out. So very excited about that, and lots more videos. I'm thinking about doing more Chinese astrology videos next year too. So yeah, that's maybe a vacation. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that feels right. That feels right. At least by April. At least by April.
Oh, yeah. We'll have to talk about the eclipse coming up in April. It's going to be very intense. And so maybe we'll get together before then and talk about it.
Yes, yes. Sounds good. I love that. Yay. Okay, well, thank you so much, Donna. It's been such a pleasure. Again, you're such an amazing person with everything that you're putting out there. It's just really great that I found you, and for all the new people that have and know about you now, really, really appreciate it. And
Thank you.
also,
Thank you, May. But you're doing amazing work too. And, I've seen what you've done. It's just, you're lifting up so many people's lives. It's wonderful.
thank you. Thank you. Well, we will be in touch for another episode with you, I'm sure. But until then, I hope you have a great holiday season and all the great things. And may your upcoming year be one of the most prosperous, blessed, in harmony, and filled with love.
Yes.
Thank you.